The impetus for gathering today is essentially under the umbrella of the FDIC study that was released in December of 2009. And it essentially did a national survey on the unbanked and the underbanked. Unbanked are essentially those who have no interaction with mainstream finance. The underbanked might have their toe tipped in the water of mainstream financing, but still possibly do payday lending or write money orders, things of that nature. St. Louis ranked #1 in unbanked African Americans. So today is a call of action, and we're really excited. This is progress here, getting everybody in the room talking. And again, I want to reiterate the fact that when we leave today, we got to talk about next steps. We're not just going to discuss the problem today. I'd really like to make some headway on a true plan of action. We're behind schedule already. That's because I started us late. I was going to say it's because Eddie's verbose, but I want Eddie to talk as much as he possibly can. And first up is going to be Eddie, because I do want Eddie to continue with a little bit of a historical perspective on what the banking climate has been like here in the St. Louis metro area. And I hope we don't run out of time for Eddie to talk about current efforts. That is, there's been a breakfast meeting at the Fed. Bankers have met with the NAACP on a routine basis the last few months. So there's definitely momentum gaining and moving forward on the whole idea of considering a loan pool targeted for minority business people. Eddie?
Well, thank you. I think if you don't mind, I'll keep my seat this time. I think that there are one of two reasons that Galen had me go first. He wanted me to be mindful of the time, or he really wanted me to set the stage.
It's the latter.
We have had a need for access to capital in this community, particularly for minority businesses, for quite some time. I started with the, I guess, when I was at Union Electric Company in the early 90s, and even before that, I was the president of the St. Louis Board of Education. When we were trying to renovate and build, renovate schools and build new schools here in St. Louis, we ran into a problem because one of our objectives were to have African American owned construction companies and minority and women owned construction companies work on that school project. We had $400 million to spend, and we wanted to make sure some of those people got that money. Primarily because, and this is something that shocked me, 70% of the students had parents who relied on the construction industry for their employment. And 80% of the students in the St. Louis public schools at that time were African American. So that told us that we had to do something to make sure that those people were involved in the reconstruction of the schools that we were building. At that time, we came up just against a brick wall. The companies that we were trying to get financing for, there was no way could they go into a bank and get a loan. It just wasn't going to happen. And so we ended up having to put some major pressure on those banks because at that time we had $360 million in the general revenue of the school district, and we used that as a lever, saying that if they didn't want to work with us and participate with providing loans to these individuals who needed them, we would pull our funding and take it to maybe Fifth Third Bank in Cincinnati. And they didn't want that to happen. And so we managed to get some things going. That speaks two things to me. It says that people of like mind need to be in leadership positions, #1, and then we need to have cooperation, #2. That's been a historical problem here in St. Louis, and I think it goes back to the whole credit model that lenders use to loan money. As many of you all know, they use a criteria of 5 C's, they call them: collateral, condition, credit, character, and capital. Now, I have no problem with the capital capacity and collateral portion of that equation. The problem that I have is with those are all, by the way, quantitative measures. Things that you can do to look at to say, okay, this ratio matches that, our criteria is this, and we can make the loan. The problem that I have is with the two that are subjective. One is character, which is supposed to measure individual borrowers' integrity. Well, to me, that could be all over the spectrum. This person could be an ex-offender, or they can be a wife beater, or they could kick their dog, or they may not close the door behind them. What does it mean? I have a problem with that. The other one is condition, which has to do with the overall economy and the borrower. Well, if you're going to look at condition from a person like my perspective, all of us who are African American in this room have had some credit issue in our life, and a lot of it is beyond our control, and so the overall economy has negatively affected us. So now you have a condition that's negatively affected you, and I'm not going to make the loan. Those are the types of things that we as individuals have been up against, and one way to avoid that or to overcome that is to work those gaps out, which is what I've been trying to do the last 9 years. We've worked with individual companies, Bob and I, and myself on my own, trying to get business owners, first of all, to understand the scope of what I just talked about, to understand how to analyze the information found in their financial statements, and then to interpret that information so that they can further grow and develop their business. And, in fact, we can take them into banks and get successful loans. Well, we have had some successes in the banking community. We've had greater success, I should say, in the non-financial, not non-financial, but non-banking financial institution area. The GE Capitals of the world and those types of places, which will loan individuals money but at a greater rate, or in factoring, for example, which is again a greater rate. So we have had those obstacles, I'll call them, historically, and in order to overcome them, I think that what most African Americans who have been successful has needed to do was to engage with a person like me to act as a loan broker, if you will, to help them get that money either from a bank or a non-banking financial institution. I think I'll probably stop there because there's a lot more that I have to say about this, but I just wanted to paint the picture that it's not easy for an individual who is a business owner, who, by the way, all of you who are business owners in this room, there's no doubt in my mind you have every skill set to run that business, in terms of if you're a plumber or if you're an accountant or if you, whatever you do, you know that portion of the business backwards and forward. What you haven't had the time to do is to become trained in the financial area of the business, and that's where you fall short. And because of the fact that you cannot get the working capital necessary to hire somebody with those skills, you find the hole even deeper. And so I want to just lay the ground with that, and we can come back and talk about any of those things in greater detail.
Sure enough. There'll be a part 2 or 3 with you, Eddie, here in a few minutes, okay?